Stories, the hustle, the grind, the push, the pain, the time, love, the sweat, the tears, goes beyond the lights, the stage, the fame, and the message stays the same. You're listening to the Indie Takeover. Welcome to the Indie Takeover. This is your boy, Jeremy Gibson, and I am excited because we are in season 3 of the Indie Takeover, and we're featuring during the summer series some of the most incredible voices, influencers, figures within the music industry today. And I am joined by an incredible vocalist, songwriter, background vocalist, arranger, worship leader. I mean, he's all things, wears many hats, and we're going to learn more about him today. I want to bring to the stage my new brother. I want to introduce to some and present to others Gene Hoskins, all the way from North Carolina, right?
All the way, man. It's an honor to be here. Listen, that intro was legit. That's a BET show right there, man.
Thank you, sir. Well, Gene, again thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining the Indie Takeover. I gotta say, before you even have your own intro, this homecoming album, I thank you.
Man, I appreciate it. I really do. It means a lot. And I'm pretty sure I'll tell you why later, why it means a lot.
Yeah.
It means a lot to hear that. And I promise over the last, I don't know, the album came out in February, but it seemed like the last 2 weeks, man, every day I'm running into people in public that are coming up to me, talking about the album. I'm like, man, like, wow. And to think I had a little fear about putting it out, but we'll talk about
that. Man. So for those that don't know who you are, they're unfamiliar, go on ahead, tell them who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Okay. My name is Gene Hoskins. I am a good old Black man from North Carolina, born and raised in Charlotte, but I currently reside in Durham, where I've been here about the last 9 years. I am in the music industry. I have 2 careers. They kind of exist beside each other, right? So I'm in the music business as an artist and background vocalist and writer, but I'm also a psychotherapist here. And so I have 2 careers that I balance on the daily. But yeah, I've been in the industry a little minute. I've been doing professional B2Bs for a number of artists, but particularly mainly Jonathan Nelson for the last 5-6 years. Miranda Curtis, among other artists, and I had the opportunity to be featured on their songs. And, after that, I began to do my own solo career, and I released an EP entitled Undefeated in 2019. It did pretty good for an independent artist, since we're talking about the Indie Takeover. And then I released my debut album this past February 2021. And it's just been an amazing response. So,
listen, I gotta say, the simple fact that you are not only an artist, a creative, but also a psychologist. Say it again. What's the official title?
Well, a psychotherapist, but I'm considered a psychologist here. We have master's level psychologists, so I went to school and taught and yeah. So I that's my other passion. And so when I'm not on the road, when I'm home, like today, or I'm doing paperwork, I'm talking to people, I'm doing therapy. And then on those days when I travel. Thank you for technology where I can kind of do, telehealth and talk to people when I'm in the state. Yeah, so it kind of works out.
That's dope. I mean, just as a creative, we deal with so many like internal, struggles, feeling, our worth, if we're, if we can compete in this industry, just all the different things that creatives, especially singers, when you are your instrument, you are the every bit of criticism. You can't blame it on the guitar strings or the drumsticks or the keys or the pedals. Like it's you,
It's you. And for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I've realized, and I say this often, being a singer, but I have insight when it relates to things like this. A lot of times singers and musicians tie their worth into their instrument.
Right.
And I think when you appraise your instrument against other people, and it doesn't measure up, then you believe that you yourself don't measure up. And I try to tell
That's
people our gift is a part of us, but it's not the whole us.
yeah. That's
Singer,
good.
but I'm also a brother. You know, I'm a friend, I'm a mentor, I'm a therapist. You know, it's other things to me other than that. And so when I put my worth into one particular gift, and I then try to measure that gifts against other gifts, and I feel like it pales in comparison, and I believe I pale, and that I
Yeah.
believe it's a falsehood.
That's so good. So good. So let's start at the beginning. How did you get into all that you are doing now? How did it start?
Serving. Oh, you talking about the music or the mental health?
Both. How did one come after the other, or how did that journey? How did they intersect? You know.
They've apparently always been kind of doing like this, right? So I think I'll start music. My dad is a singer. My mother's a lover of music, and I've always just had this thing for music. Mother said when I was younger, she was playing the Clark sisters, John P. Key and Daryl Coley, and all of them. She said I was always mimicking them. She would make me come and say, come here, do that run that Karen did, and the safest place, right? I'll be, 7 years old, the safest place in all the world, and then and she would make me do it everywhere. And I just always had a love for music, and I fell in love with writing. My pre-teen years when I started realizing some of my favorite artists were writing, and they all were not artists, but like one of my favorite writers was Mariah Carey. You had Mary, you had who else did I love? Oh man, there's so many that were just amazing writers. And I began to want to write, but I just felt like it was the songs I was writing were corny. I didn't feel like they were good enough. And then I felt like I was around other people who were at a better writing, I guess, level than I was. And I was like, well, I'll let them do it. I'll just be the singer. And and I'll be like, well, you know what? I'm going to start writing my own songs. I got something to say. I got a perspective to give. And I started doing that. And the response was like, man, I love your approach to it. And so I continue to do it. I was like, if I can do one, I can do two. I can do two. I can do three. If I can do three, I can do a whole album. That's how I get it. So now I'm writing for other people along with myself. So I began to actually get in the industry because my current booking manager was my mother's minister of music. He's now my godbrother. Like, he's been a part of our family for years. And I would come back from college to come sing at my mother's church, who is a pastor. And he was the minister of music. He also happened to be the booking manager for John P. Key. And at that time, Miranda Curtis was his praise and worship leader. And so I would come home, he said, man, you should really think about doing this as a career. I was like, no, I want to finish school, man. And
yeah.
Kind of hard to get into. We'll see what life happens. I remember coming home one day and he had Miranda, she had come to the church for something, but he had her to hide behind the door. And he said, I want you to sing this song. So he was playing something and I was singing. And she was hiding behind the door. I did not know that she was there. I think I even left not knowing. He ended up to me later, when Miranda was here, she heard you. We just started doing some dates with her. I was young. I started with her and, then I went to school. And I said, well, let me focus on grad school. And I focused on grad school. And when I finished grad school, I said, I now give myself permission to pursue music. I needed to make sure that particular goals were met. I didn't want to leave anything undone. I didn't want the anxiety to, when you leave things undone, anxiety, builds.
Right.
Time elapsed. You're like, do I really want to go there? You feel demotivated. So I said, when you finish that, then you can pursue music in what degree you want to do it. Well, at that time, I had been serving in my current church, the River, about 4 or 5 years as a worship leader. And my past bishop would always bring artists in, but I just would sing and sit down and go to work. And different artists would come in, like Marvin Sapp and John P. Key, and they were like, man, you really got it. And then one artist in particular came, his name was Jonathan Nelson, and I was singing a song. And I remember he just I was singing, but when you're singing and worshiping, you're not really looking. But sometimes you kind of look out, and I just happened to see his face. He was looking at me like, like studying me. And I was like, okay, well, that's what it is, And I remember later that day, that service, I helped him out on the song or whatever. And then the rest is history. So I tell people the way I got into the industry was I served people. I was found serving in my church. for free. Not that I don't, I don't knock people to do. I believe people are worthy to hire, but I was doing it for free. And God rewarded me for me handling that position the way I did, having not been financially compensated. Again, I'm not saying I believe people should be paid. Now I go places. Yeah. Amen. Okay. Yeah. We're not doing chicken dinners no more. Let the church say what? Okay. They quiet. We thank God. But at that time, and I was found serving, and it began to happen like that. And I would be with him. I was serving Miranda at her responsible worship, and somebody else saw a video. I was serving in my church, and Todd Delaney was like, "Hey, come do some dates with me." So that's how it worked. Yeah. And I would get there, and I would, we would do what we do, and tell people personality and integrity matters. So artists paid attention to that.
Absolutely.
And so the rest came.
Can we say that bit one more time?
Personality and integrity matters, man.
Absolutely.
No one had to handle certain rooms. My bishop, my pastor, he's a brilliant man, Bishop Ronald Godby. He said, when you get into a new room, a new land, it is important for you to study the lexicon or language of that room before opening your mouth. Because if you don't, you will speak out not knowing how things operate. And so I always knew two things. I need to be quiet and study the room.
Yeah.
I also knew that if I was invited to, then it was something I had to offer. And so anytime I felt less than, I wanted, reclude back to feeling that I wasn't worthy of that position. I would say, well, if I was invited, they saw something for me at this level. I often battle, like, can you do it on this level? Like, you get it at this level, Are you worthy to do it at this level? You have what it takes. It was a mental battle. And of course, I just had to, I consulted people and I worked through that. And so that's kind of how I got to where I'm at. I really didn't have a desire to do it. Artist. I always loved to sing, but I didn't think I was going to be an artist. I was like, well, how my music sound? I like everything. I like worship. I like trap. Yeah. I like country. I like quartet. I mean, I really like everything, Jeremy.
Right.
If you follow me, you probably hear me listen to everything.
Right.
And I said, what my sound be like? Would the album be boring? Like, will people like what I have to say? Will my lyrics be good? And I realized I use those questions as a crutch to not produce. And I had to be like, okay, well, you're using these questions as a crutch to not produce what God put in your heart.
That's so good.
And so I then began to just walk out the process. And I released an EP again, in Undefeated. Most people know me as a worship leader or a church singer, right? Yeah. But I intentionally released the EP that was more contemporary. And a lot of people shocked. It was like, it's really good, but I don't think I was expecting it. I say, thank you, because y'all not told me.
Right.
And,
right.
So then I did that to get them an appetite for this album that came out. That was a mix, I think, of different kinds of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would say, if you are listening to this interview and you have not downloaded, bought, streamed, and listened to the entire Homecoming album, oh my God.
I appreciate it.
Because I'm like you. I listen to everything. I listen to so many different types of music. But I think even stylistically, it's definitely diverse. But the messaging throughout the whole thing, I was probably gonna save this for later. But Deal, and maybe it's because of where I'm at. But I got to that song and I was just like, oh, this is retarded. So,
bro,
I sent it to my sister.
That is so. That blesses me because. And the funny thing, I thought that song would resonate more so with women because I feel like women are more open to verbalize trauma but man, I hear about Deal every day and it's always from another man, bro. I sang that song at my church and the people at the altar were men.
Yeah.
And that song came out of trauma that happened to me when I was younger, man. And beginning to write, I thought I was healed. And I remember being like, God, man, I'm healed. I feel much better. I'm not doing this no more, man. I don't feel this way anymore. Up to other people, I'm not hateful, blah, blah, blah. Which I would never be hateful, but just I was stoic. I shut down emotionally to protect.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, I was like, oh man, I feel like I got this thing. I remember being in college. And it was sort of after college, and was told me, just because it's quiet does not mean it's dead. He said, cut the head off of it and then pronounce it dead. Do the work. And I began to write that song.
So good. So
I
good.
appreciate it, man.
I believe, you know, because you start the song off talking about, you know, what you deal with in your profession and the things that you see. And I mean, I kind of didn't think, you know, expect to take this direction so quick, but I do feel that you addressing trauma as a man, I think it resonates with so many males in just, you know, those that listen, because we're taught to keep so much of our emotional expression, you know, subdued. Yeah. And that song, I mean, you articulated so many of the things that, you know, and we may not have experienced the same traumas, right?
Yeah, right.
We may not have gone through the same things, but you articulated it so well that in listening to it, I sent it to my sister, right? Because I felt like, listen, I know you've been through some stuff that you may never verbalize to me, but this song is going to help you. Like, you know, it is so well. And I feel like it's very rare. And I don't want to say rare because that's not a dig to anyone, but I've been searching for more gospel music that I find that really meets to the core of where I am, you know. And I know people are looking for that. They're looking for gospel music that connects them, you know, not to just a sound or a vibe or anything like that, but something that really speaks to the core. And I feel like this album, that's why I said thank you at the beginning of this, because I feel like you gave a lot of kind of personal and more, I mean, I don't know you like that, but you know, I feel it just felt personal, right?
Oh, listen, that y'all literally y'all are hearing my heart in 10 different songs. Even up until Perform Again, I had to pay for Perform Again last year when I was one of the first cases of COVID in North Carolina. So y'all are literally getting my experiences and the experiences of. I brought two of my homeboys in, and then my producer, and they wrote on certain songs. So my homeboy helped me write on Deal. Perform, like y'all are getting my experiences. And I was literally telling my producer, I say, man, I gave a lot the first album. Like, do I have more to give? He's like, man, yeah. You know, because I'm 34 years old, so I'm pretty sure somewhere there's some more stuff to give. But y'all are literally getting my life, and I gave it early on. Now, next album, y'all might get the praise and worship, but I wanted to be sure, and that's why. And if I can be honest and transparent, because I'm pretty open, I was in a conundrum because I was like, do I give people what they know me to be? Do I give them the praise and worship? Do I give them the church singer, the squall, the one that, you know, shoots up and runs down? Do I give them what I feel like God has downloaded for me to release to them right now?
That's good.
And I felt like, I remember even in creating, man, there was sometimes like, I had a song on there called Undefeated, and it says, my God remains undefeated. There's no one that can beat him. So it's happy worship. My God remains undefeated. There's no one that can beat him. And he is the one we believe in, right? And so it's gonna be worse. We're gonna go to the fourth. We're gonna start crying, right? And my producer says, I actually think it's trap. Like, trap, you know? He's like, I was like, well, okay, cool. I was like, as he began to do the beat, we could begin to write and it'll flow. Yeah. And so here I am at this point. I said, do I release it the way I feel like God downloaded to me, or do I change it to fit the taste of the people that are going to consume it? And I said, I would do a disservice to the creator to not release things how he gave it to me. And so what you all got is what was downloaded to me and my circle as we were creating. I think I would have changed it to what I thought was, I'm not trying to throw off, what I thought was the norm at that time, or now.
Yeah.
Impact would be less.
So let me ask you this: in your writing, it's actually two questions I want to ask, but I'll start with you in your writing process, because we didn't talk about how you kind of got into psychology. But
okay.
How does that influence your writing and your artistry?
Because so I got into psychology. I'm gonna tell you this really quick. All my life, I know I was gonna be a dentist. I was pulling people's teeth at church. I was pulling people's teeth at summer camp. Literally, they were like, parents were like, my mama's name is Kim. Evangelist, she was Evangelist name. Evangelist Kim, can Gene pull so teeth? She's like, go in there and do it, Gene. Make sure you wash your hands and don't touch the blood. I'll be in there just. And I remember when I was losing my teeth. I don't back in the 90s. I was born in the 80s, raised in the 90s. There were these M&M mini. They remember those containers?
Yeah.
This is pretty nasty now, but I could pull my teeth and I wanted to keep them because I wanted to see how they looked over time. And I would literally put them in the M&M container. And I remember my mama comes to me about, "What's that smell?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about." She said, "What's in there?" I said, "My teeth." She said, "That is nasty. Throw them out. You gonna get some more?" And so, but I've always had a fan. So I knew I was going to be a dentist. And then in college, high school, I took a intro to psychology course and loved it. And I remember I was doing so well, the teacher thought I was actually cheating on tests. He literally watched me the whole test. He said I was literally verbatim regurgitating the information.
Wow.
He said, "Boy, you should really consider. You really like this." Like, yeah. Went to college, had as a major. I had a double major and a minor: psychology, sociology, African American studies. But I was like, but I'm still be a dentist. I'm like, I'm gonna go after I finish this. I'm gonna go to another program.
Yeah.
And I even went to another program as an undergrad. Spent $50,000 in loans. And when I finished the program, I said, I don't want to do this.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was this. I call it the $50,000 mistake. But I'd rather have that than be unhappy. And so I went home with my mom. I recuperated for a little bit. And then I got into a couple of schools, and the rest is history. I went to North Carolina Central for master's and ended up, doing school, and I was teaching, and I did interns, all that stuff, and the rest is history. So psychology kind of found me, to be honest, because I wasn't looking for it.
Right.
But the way it feeds into my music is, I have my life experiences, but I have the beautiful opportunity to help people work through what they're currently experiencing or what they've been through. And I hear their language, I hear how they see things. When they tell me stories, I can imagine who certain people are. I don't know. And it really, to me, it feeds my imagination. It feeds and it increases my heart for God's people and people in general. Yeah. And so now I don't get to just pull from my experiences. I pull from theirs as well.
Yeah, that's so good because music is therapeutic, like in itself. We all have our go-tos and our moments of things that we listen to give us that, either help us wallow or bring us out, because there's some songs that I listen to just to cry. Just to cry.
I'm like crying.
Let me put this on real quick.
Let me put on real quick. Let me put on Never with the Mate. Let me go ahead and cry.
And it's funny because I'm laughing just because I love music so much, and
I do too. I promise. It's I can't even explain. It's so funny. My fellow artist was like, "I love music, but you're obsessed." I was like, "Am I?" It's like you just know everything.
It is the blood that courses through my veins. Mm-hmm. Like I believe it's God's favorite gift to humanity.
It's either that or laughter. One of those.
Listen, and both of them are like medicine.
Yeah. For sure.
So I just, you have, a very unique, like you said, perspective of being able to help people in both of, your career field, both career fields, and gifting. Do you find it, so we were talking about how the psychology influences your songwriting. For those that are, aspiring artists that aren't necessarily songwriters, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think that's another key that some singers have to realize, that just because you sing doesn't mean you have to write every song on your album.
And that's very true. And even songwriters, I think you have to also realize sometimes for variety, invite other people in the room for perspective, invite other people in the room, right? For different vantage points. Because like even with Deal, that was my song. I wrote the verse, I wrote the chorus, birds, bridge, all that stuff. But my homeboy, AJ Simmons, he wrote the second verse, which I think is absolutely one of the most powerful verses on there. It says, "Holding your past has become so heavy. You say you want to grow, but are you really ready? You
Right.
cannot change covering that scar. You never ever loved through a broken heart." Like, what? Pull back the cover, and I wrote this part. Pull back the covers, and you will see every dark place that you try to conceal. You will reveal, every dark place you have tried to conceal. Like,
Right.
I invited him in the process, and he added something that enhanced it. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to add people that's going to enhance your gift.
Absolutely. What do you think that is? Because I have worked with a number of artists in different capacities, but I know that a lot of artists, and I get it, in the creative process is very personal. It's very vulnerable. So for those that are questioning, like, who should I invite in the room? Who should I open this part of my process? A lot of us want to present the finished product, but I agree with you. Even in the development of said thing, whether it be a song, whatever, it is good to get feedback, right? But how can you trust the feedback is genuine?
Mm-hmm. I guess my experience is different. Everybody who contributed on this album, I actually am friends with first.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we created was a byproduct of us knowing each other and trusting each other anyway. And so I would tell people from my experience, maybe get to know people around you that profess to do this.
Yeah.
Know them, be social, share a couple of laughs, go out to eat a couple times, so that when you become comfortable with them there, you can become comfortable with them in the studio, right?
Yeah.
I think it becomes kind of weird when you are trying to create and be vulnerable, but you don't really know that person, and so it's like y'all trying to learn each other in the process of creating. It's like y'all got two different barriers you're working with. So I would say get to know the people first, learn their families, learn the kids, learn all that if you have time, if you can do it, because I really believe that enhances the relationship. Most record companies will send artists to a whole nother country to sit with producers for a while, so producers get an understanding of who they are. I think the same is with songwriters. Get people that know you. But my next album, I already know who's going to be sitting in the room. I got it. In addition to my two homeboys producers, I got the guys I'm already going to bring in the room with me, because over the last 3 years, we got to know each other.
Yeah, that's so good. So good. I love that, because I hope those that are listening are taking notes, because it's necessary, right? I have had people come to me and ask, hey, can you help me in this respect? And I always ask the question to everyone: what is your why? Why are you doing this? What motivates you? Because when the rubber meets the road and finances are at stake, time is at stake,
money,
exactly. When all of that is at stake, your why has to be so great that you don't give up, that you push beyond. So let me ask you, what has been your why? What keeps you doing this? I know you said, in creating Homecoming, it was a lot of, it was your heart, but you didn't have to give us that. What pushed you to release that to the world?
Authenticity is super important to me. And by profession, I realized, not profession, by purpose. It's so funny. I tell people, I think we all are searching for our purpose, but I was able to put language to my purpose I'm 34, about 2 years ago. And I was like, okay, because at one point I thought my therapy and music couldn't exist. So I was literally treating them separately. And then they started to merge, and I started going to churches and training. Pastors were calling me, a lot of, people in the churches were calling me to come talk to their youth and their ministers, and, and then I started, I would sing and begin to speak to depression, anxiety. I would call out different neurotransmitters that were, deficient. I was like, wait a minute, starting to come together. And
what's the reason? What's your why?
Loose here. Come on, somebody. My wife. What was I was going, it was gonna be so good, man. I was
Listen, help him, Holy Ghost.
But I said this is okay, this is what it was. I wanted authentic because I wanted people, I realized my purpose in life was healer.
Yeah.
And whether it was through therapy, teaching, because I taught, when I was in grad school, I was able to teach, or music. And I felt like if my calling, if my purpose is a healer, I feel like my music should speak that as well in some aspect. And so to get, man, I got a message. I got some messages, bro. I got one from this guy who said I was about to commit suicide, but I played Perform Again. Or I had a guy, who said every time I go to chemotherapy, I play Undefeated, which I remember doubting putting that song out. I had somebody inbox me and they told me they have a substance abuse group, and they play Blood Love, and they begin to cry in that group,
Wow.
Hearing stuff like that, or having, which is interesting, having people come to my office for therapy and say, well, I know you're my therapist, but I heard a song by you, and it's just like, and so to have that, man, it just, that's okay. Well, it was worth it. It was worth what I had to endure and all that. And, God just gave me the grace. Continue to do it as you give it to me.
Yeah. That's so good. So good. When you imagine, like you said, things that you doubted or questioned, like, should I even put this out? And just to know, like, this is way bigger than you, way bigger than what you are doubting or insecure about. Like, listen, this is for somebody else's, healing and breakthrough and deliverance. That is, I encourage, artists and creatives to realize that our gifting in being creative and producing things for others is far greater than just us. It's for the world. I want to ask you, if we were to look into your most recent played music, whether it be Spotify, iTunes, whatever platform you listen to music on, what would be the last 3 things that you have listened to?
Well, I have worship tonight, so I had to listen to those songs. The last 3 is Lucinda Moore. I had to listen to Undefeated, the remix. I'm putting together and so I had to listen to that. But other than it's a artist. I think her name, she's in Nashville. Her name is Danita Gibbs. She has a song called Redeemed that came out. It's really, really dope. And I'm obsessed with this new Dawkins and Dawkins record. They are, to me, in my opinion, for me, because they came into the industry when I was really creating my own musical taste, right? Remember, at the early years, my mom was feeding me, and luckily she gave me good people.
Right.
But Dawkins and Dawkins, the Marys, which is my all-time favorite gospel act, J Moss, Tone, those were the ones I was listening to. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, it froze. I'm sorry, my computer tried to loose here. Come on, somebody. But they were the ones that helped develop my taste. And so when y'all hear what y'all hear, it's them. So I'm obsessed with them. And then I listen to other stuff. So I'm listening to her's new album. Yeah. Go on. And I love this is a girl named Alex Isley. I really, really love.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Alex Isley, listen, her, Tiffany Goucher, Isa from Chicago. I mean,
Kenyon Dixon. First of all, Kenyon Dixon new album is sick. It's sick. Yeah. So I love the underground. I love many people. Like, one of my favorite male singers of the last 20 years is Tank. He's one of my favorites. But my underground got my heart. Like, and of course, like Danae Eco, she was underground for a while now. But I like how I feel like they're authentic to their sound. That makes sense. And so I love
it. That's for me, that's a great caveat into the next question I want to ask you. Your perspective on music currently. Do you feel, a lot of people say, oh, music is, gospel is not what it is, R&B is not what it used to be, and all this stuff. But like you said, there's so many artists right now that are putting out music that I feel like, listen, this, and they're getting public platforms that I don't think they would have got 2-3 years ago.
And it's, you know what, the pandemic really leveled a lot of things out.
Yeah.
And I was blessed to release my album when I did, because I think it allowed me to just, we were now on the same platforms as our major contemporaries.
Right.
Everybody, and so I think a lot of things have leveled out. I completely understand people's sentiments about music changing, but that's music. Music evolves. And so right now I think it's evolving to what people may not like.
Yeah.
But my thing is there's always people doing something that you may like, right? Everybody's not doing CCM. I know that might be the CCM style songs. People complain about that. I get it. But you have other people out here who are doing, contemporary gospel. You have people out here that are doing different kinds of things. So you have responsibility is, go online. Who's new? Ask people, who are you listening to?
Yeah.
Feed that part of you by exploring, right? If you know you're not going to hit on the radio, don't listen to it. Go to YouTube. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I get it. I understand it. And it's frustrating sometimes when it becomes to like, you feel like, well, if I do this, will it get played? Because it's not, again, what is popular. But it goes back to, I believe, and this is me. Again, I'm really new to it. If God gave it to you, he gave it to you for a reason.
Yes.
So if he gave it to you for a reason, then he's going to be the one to blow it where it needs to go.
Yeah.
If radio is that place, he will make provision. If it's going to be viral via YouTube, then it's going to happen. If it's meant for somebody in Czechoslovakia and only them alone, it's going to be meant for them. And so just produce, how you're supposed to produce it.
Yeah. That's great advice. Great advice. It goes back to the authenticity that you talked about. Being real. I mean, it's not like the days of, Milli Vanilli and the boy bands where they were literally bringing people, random folks together, trying to make a gimmick, right? Like audiences don't want that. You can't sell me something that that really, the music now, I think that crosses so many, for instance, I keep seeing, I check the charts pretty often, but I keep seeing Jasmine Sullivan on some of the gospel charts, right? And I'm like,
really?
Yeah, on some of the radio charts, and I'm just like, what gospel radio station is playing Jasmine Sullivan?
Especially this new album. It's not on that new album that is gospel.
Right.
I don't know. Okay, now we're doing a lot. We're doing this new album, and the new album was dope, but that has nothing to do with gospel music.
Nothing. However, I do feel as though her stylistic choices in the way that she chooses to convey the messages are, they reflect her roots in gospel music.
She's one of the best singers we've seen in the last 20 years.
Hands down. Down.
And I've been on her since MySpace.
Listen, I have tracks of Jasmine Sullivan when she was like 14, 15 years old. She did some set in London. Whoever recorded it.
I met at the bus stop. Yeah.
Yes.
I was in college like, who is this girl?
Listen. I say that all to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Where we are now, like music, it reaches so far beyond what we were used to. Like you were saying, if what you want to hear doesn't come on the radio, don't listen to the radio or that radio station. We have so many places to access music, right? So as an artist, we can't put ourselves in a box, or like you said, pigeonhole ourselves into something and talk ourselves out of, oh, well, my music doesn't fit X, Y, and Z. Listen, there's a place for it. And if there's not a place for it, you make a place for it. There's so many places. And again, I want to just say this Homecoming album. Listen, those of you that are listening, if you don't have it, get it right now.
Get it, please. And
It
we have
is.
some cool stuff coming up very, very soon that we're gonna announce. So,
Well, listen, we will stay locked and ready because it was great. It is a great album. I've listened to it over and over again.
What's your favorite song?
I told you, Deal.
Okay. outside of the crying song, what's the?
Well, like I said, I think because of the place that I'm currently in,
I understand.
It has ministered to me a lot. But I love your creativity vocally and how you arrange. Let me tell you, because I'll tell you by I'm horrible with remembering
names. Most people are.
Right.
And most of my names are weird too. So
no, they're not weird.
I mean, Blood Love. Blood Love is different.
A love story. The greater. Now listen. So Miranda Curtis. So I wanted to talk about that a little briefly, but the greater name. I really love where worship music is going, especially when in terms of the Black church, where a lot of people are critical of like marrying the sound of CCM. It's like, oh, that's not church. That's not gospel. That's not what we're used to. This ain't testimony service, but you have worship leaders like yourself, like Miranda Curtis, Todd Galbraith, Todd Delaney, those that are putting out worship material for churches within our culture that really that I believe dial into the heart of who God is and what he wants our like you said, our lexicon, to be in really dealing with the things of today, right? So I will say that song for me, I was like, listen, I love the choices that you made on this album to really give a sound that I feel resonates beyond just a vibe, So so if I got to give you my top 3 on the album, I'll go with Deal number 1, just because that hits hard for me. The Greater Name. Okay, we'll do 4. Unconditional Love and Perform Again.
Perform Again is literally in everybody's top. Unconditional Love, surprisingly, is too. I love that song. Brittany Wright is one of my favorite.
Yes.
Artists. I consider her to be one of the independent artists best because she's been doing it for a while. She was killing. And so my producer is her producer.
Okay.
And so me and her have just been really cool over the last few years. And I was like, well, I needed people on this album who I've always looked up to. Like I had my friends who I, were ride and die with, my homeboys, and I said, we're doing this song together. So wanted the people who I learned a lot from.
Yeah.
So Miranda's someone who has been a mentor for years for me. So I needed her on this album.
Yeah.
Brittany's someone I looked up to with the independent, albums. I needed her on the album. Phil Bryant, I always looked at him as a producer, been one of the best. I needed him, And so I think what you're also getting is my respect for them and love for them on the track. So it was a lot of thought into a lot of these things. Next album, you're probably gonna get the the Jonathan Nelson and all the rest of them too. I feel like each album I want to honor those.
Yeah.
Who said, okay, well, you right here, I think you deserve the next level, and I'm going to take you on the road with. That's important to me.
Well, listen, I am ready for whatever is next from Gene Hoskins. So if you can let us know how we can stay locked and connected to you and figure out how to support, how to stay tuned for new updates and new releases and all that good stuff. Let us know.
Social media, really, I'm pretty active on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook, Gene Hoskins. It's me because I'm bald-headed and dark-skinned with a beard. But also, they're like Jeremy too.
It could be one of them.
But I got a little more hue, But Instagram, I am Gene Hoskins, please. And I'm one of them people think it's funny. They're like, you talking to me? Somebody sent me a message the other day, like, you may not ever read this, but I was like, man, please, I talk to everybody. As long as you respect what we talk.
Right.
And so I like to talk to you and kind of see who you are, and so reach out to me. I love to connect, and stay tuned. We got some really cool stuff planned, and I would love to see you all participate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Gene, my brother, thank you so much for your time.
Man, thank you for the interview.
It has been a pleasure for me.
Yes, I appreciate that.
I will continue to support. Thank you for joining the Indie Takeover. If you have any final words for our listening audience, please leave us with a word of wisdom.
Yeah, man, to all my creatives, whether it's music, you're a musician, you're a writer, what you have in you, there's a population of people that will respond to how you produce it authentically. And so when you produce, if everybody don't get with it, it's not meant for everybody. It's meant for people. It's assigned to your sound. So I tell people your sound has an assignment to different groups of people. And so yours may not be international, may be local or national, whatever. But you stay true to your sound, and I promise you, as you do with God's work, He will do what He needs to do for you as well. So stay true to your sound because it has an assignment.
Absolutely. So good. Y'all, this has been another episode of the Indie Takeover with your boy, Jeremy Gibson, joined by my special guest today, Gene Hoskins. Go and grab his debut album right now.
Do it now.
And do it right now. And share it with all your family and friends.
Yes, Lord.
They will be blessed.
Come on, somebody.